Hello, everybody, to Conversations with Klana. It's about inspirations for personal growth. And I'm Klana, the pleasure alchemist, a multidimensional healer, a professionally trained life and leadership coach, and a certified sexological body worker. And if you are longing for more joy and want to live more orgasmically and authentically from your heart, you are here at the right place. Today, I have a wonderful woman from France. She is living near Paris, and I welcome Rima Nouri.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, and let me just introduce you a little bit before we go into the talking. Rima is a trained trilingual life coach and the founder of Elegant Alchemy, who helps women to cultivate a rich inner world whilst creating an elegant outer one. And her motto is, alchemy is what we do, elegant is how we do it. Houses are her passion, and she has been sharing her extensive knowledge of the impact a home has on a person's life with hundreds of women. And her popular newsletter, Le Petit Mot, brings together an international community of women from every part of the world. Again, welcome, Rima. I'm so happy to have you here.
Thank you so much. I'm happy to be here, and I absolutely adore the orgasmic living. I think that's very compatible when you think about how you set up your home for your life.
Yes. And actually, that's the way we met, not in person, but online, like we do nowadays. You created a wonderful workshop with your home, and I did it. I was one of the participants,
Yes.
participants of your better version. And I so loved it, and I thought, wow, there are so many lines that you can bring from your home into your life. I must have her on my show. Tell us a little bit.
Well,
How did it come that you're doing this? And tell us a little bit about yourself too, please.
how did the whole thing come into being? Well, I think from an early age on, what I was really always fascinated by are houses and people. What makes people tick? And houses at that time, in the beginning, it was just my personal passion. I didn't think about doing anything with it professionally. And I was always fascinated by houses, but I was always struggling with my homes, especially because I was entrenched clutterbug and very disorganized, and stuff was everywhere. And there was really always this sort of feeling torn between what I longed for, what I desired, and what was my reality. And it took actually quite a long time, because originally I'm coming from theater and music, and which somehow is maybe not so conducive for an organized lifestyle. And it was after I stopped working in theater and music and was living with my children that my house became more to the forefront. And as things go, at one point I came across a book that explained the impact of clutter on a person's life. And I still remember, I read that book in the train. I still remember to that day the station where I came across that passage, and I went like crimson, like, oh my God, that's me, what's happening here? And I went home and started to clutter clear like mad. And that was way before, like Marie Kondo and all these things happened. We're talking a few decades past. And when I started to discover that when I did that, it did have an impact on my life. I started to smell blood, so to speak, and to start to explore, to start to observe to what's going on here. And eventually that led to my training as a space clearer and clutter clearer and organizer. And I worked in that capacity with ladies all over Europe. So I was traveling all the time. And I got to see many, many houses and all kinds of styles, all kinds of countries, all kinds of cultures, of all kinds of social conditions. That was a fantastic training. And it led eventually to me training as a life coach, because in the end, what's interesting is not the houses, but the people who live there.
Yes, exactly.
And as a life coach, houses always were somehow at the background because I noticed even when I worked with a client, not specifically on her house or a topic or issue of her house, but on something in her life, when they started to shift automatically, without me prompting anything, they started to work on their house. Like I got those emails, like let's say they became clearer about their professional orientation. And then I got this email, oh, this weekend I was so inspired, I started to declutter my garage or paint my living room. And that brought me back to, where they meet. House and people definitely meet, even without, how shall I say, without people planning for it. And that brought me the idea to say, how about we serve that, we really harness that impact a house has on a person's life to help them in their personal process, in their personal transformation. And I've used that with my private clients extensively and to fantastic results. And this was how the course, the Better course, which you took which you were part of, came into being, because then I thought, okay, how can I bring that into a package for more people to benefit from it? Yeah, that was in a nutshell the story.
Thank you for sharing that. And I so much agree. It was interesting I have both glasses on. So the coaching part and
Yeah.
the personal development, and your approach from the house. And I just moved to Berlin, so I gave almost everything away. I started with almost nothing, and I wanted to, because I have no clue how long I'm going to stay there. I didn't want to invest anything, and I got stuff borrowed. People gifted me with things, and I was so lucky how to make my room. It's just a one room apartment, nice. And then you had some little things in your class, which still opened my eyes. I said, okay, especially these unfinished stuff. So I didn't need to declutter as a lot of other people that were attending the class, because I already did that. I didn't the other way around. I needed some things. But still, the unfinished thing was great. So for me, the most important thing I did, it might sound a little bit weird, but it was to put my curtains on.
I remember the curtains, yes.
I had the material there already 3 or 4 weeks, and I had even my sewing machine. I brought it from my parents' house, and I didn't do it because there was not I couldn't fix it.
Yeah.
I don't know.
The railing was
there was none there. So your course brought me to go out and put that thing on, or find somebody who did it for me. That was really cool. And some other small things.
What we did in the course, and in the beta version, it was shorter now. In the real version, so to speak, we have it for 6 weeks, is that we are really looking at the different aspects of change, because the course is called Change Your Home, Change Your Life. So what are the different facets or aspects or components of change? And so we have connection and clarity and confidence, and what else? We have consistency and continuity. And depending on where a person is in her life and in her home, some aspects will come more to the forefront than others. For you, the whole clutter clearing was a non-issue. It had happened already. For others, that will be the one issue they need to work upon, you know? And the interesting thing, the fascinating thing is that when you start to look at your home that way, it always shows you something that's going on. And then when with your fantastic curtains, because the curtain, I still remember your curtains, they transformed your whole room.
Mm-hmm.
They completely uplifted and up-leveled it.
Yes, and that's also what I loved, your approach with the levels. So rate your home now. Which number does it have from 1 to 10? And then where do you want to get it? And how can you get a point more? And
Yes.
that was good. I like that.
Well, that is that's a classic coaching tool. Every coach knows that on the scale of 1 to 10, what do you do? But the fact is, I think it's really working very well when you get, because we started, as you might remember, we started in really getting people into their vision of what they really want, what's ideal for them. And as you are a coach too, I'm sure you experience the same thing with your client, that people are not clear about what they want.
Yeah.
And when you can connect people to not only mentally, not only theoretically, like I want to have more money, great. But really when they get a sort of taste and flavor and really get it into the flesh, so to speak, of how they want to feel. Then when they act from there, or when they look at the things from there, it's a complete game changer. Because they're not any longer in the, I'm not perfect, it doesn't work, it's not how it should be, why did I, and all that. But they get into, I know how it feels like, and then I can recognize it where it's happening already. Yeah. And I think that's much more, well, orgasmic, to speak with your language.
Yeah, for me it was more creating or seeing, having the awareness for what I already knew from other aspects of life, how that was related to my surroundings. So you made it really, really clear, a thing that I already knew. And I'm already a quite orderly person, so my bed is made all the time, especially in that room, because I only have that one room. Everything needs to be neat, because if I don't have that, I cannot think, I cannot work. Okay, I also have my spaces. My desk, working desk, is not always the neatest one, so I need to okay, so but nobody is perfect, and we need those places too, I think. So
and it's not about being perfect, because perfection is, I mean, it has been said before, perfection is somehow, I mean, once you're perfect, well, it's done. You can go, you can leave. That's why I'm always insisting on ideal, because that is this dream, this feeling of ideal that's growing us. There's a continuity to it. There's an opening to whatever is coming next, whereas perfection is done, dead.
Yeah, that's so true. And you said something in the class, and now again, to go into your vision and have the emotions of that, because my dream house, in the wonderful exercise you let us do right at the beginning of the class, and where you can relate on all the time, it showed me something completely different than I was in now and I ever had. But I didn't stick to this vision in the picture that I got, but only with my emotion. I thought, oh, well, interesting. My picture was way more luxurious than what I'm in now, but I'm happy in my not so luxurious thing. So from the emotional side, it's already a 9 or whatever. And this is so cool. I really did love that.
It's really, if you compare it, because the thing is, what we are as humans after our emotions, so when you focus on the emotion, then, as I said, you can really start to recognize where it's happening already, and you are not dependent on the penthouse or on the beach house or whatever you saw in your vision. And in a way that what you see, well, if you have it, nice for you. But in a way, it's just a tool to get you into the emotion. In the same way, when you think about coaching, when a person has a goal, whatever that is, to lose 10 pounds or to get a new man or have 1 million or whatever people's goals may be, what's really much more interesting is how the person becomes in the process of going towards that tool, of acquiring that tool. See what I mean? So the goal in itself, well, that what fires people up and motivates them. But what's really the real benefit, what they reap of, is who they become in the process. And that's the same, it's really what the benefit of that exercise is, not to see yourself in the, I don't know, 5-story, whatever home, but to connect clearly to the feeling that procures you. And that's clearly what you did with your luxurious vision and your wonderful place you have right now with the curtains.
Thank you. No, I really love that. And to see how you can approach your personal development and personal growth from so different angles. So you do it through the housing, and I'm doing it through touch and sexuality. So, and in the end, it's all the same. It comes back to yourself. How do you feel best? How can you transform to the person you want to be?
Absolutely. It's really, I mean, all the roads lead to Rome. And for one, I would say ideally, the work I do would then lead you to the work you do.
Yeah. Go ahead.
Because I mean, our home is called our third skin.
Yeah.
And it's really like, I mean, I believe that when you have an environment that is really connected to where you want to go, to this best place, this vision, then it's really make much easier and opening the way, the doors, so to speak, to become more connected with yourself. And that is, your work is one way of doing that. And yeah. I'd say a very important one. And
yeah, I think both are quite important. and it's good that we have so many different ways to get there, because people are different. For some people, the route through the business, through the house is good. For other people, through the business. So I had another woman in the podcast. She comes from the business side, so she looks at people's businesses, and she said that's a reflection of their life. Yeah, and my approach is from
completely true.
Isn't it perfect?
Yes, and I think really this sort of holistic way of I was going to say looking at things, but that doesn't go deep enough. It's really a way of living. Mm-hmm. Because in the end, it's true. Everyone who has a business knows that the business, when it's their own business they created, is completely reflective of what's going on in their life. And I mean, I'm sure you made this experience too, that sometimes our business really pushes us forward to grow as a person, or vice versa. When we grow, sometimes we feel, okay, the business as it is doesn't quite work any longer that way. And and that's true for the houses, and that's true for the sexuality, and that's true for relationship, or the way you deal with your money and everything, really.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So I think it's really interesting that people start to get an awareness that all these are tools.
Yeah.
It's not something they were born with and doomed to be in a certain way or not. It's something that I'm certain there are elements of what they learned as they grew up from their parents or from their cultural heritage. But in a way, it's a tool, and you can learn to use it, and you can decide what you want to use it for.
Absolutely. So we so much. You mentioned the parents and the upbringing. That is the most determining thing that brings a, oh, now I'm in difficulties with the language.
Breathe.
Yeah, the upbringing and the parenting at home, socialization, I think that's the right word, is the most determining factor for your life, how your life is going to be. And from time to time, things come up and you see. I love that life is such a constant exploration of new and old things. For instance, now for me, a lot of old stuff comes up. And I think, okay, what does that want to show me?
Exactly.
And some things I thought I have already dealt with. And
yeah. That, especially when they come up, you say, that's not fair. I didn't sign up for that. I thought that was done. If I had one wish for people to change something in their personal development, is to stop that, I don't know, Hollywood fairy tale prince kiss me and everything is all right approach, to think that it's once I'm there, it's done. And that's just not, it's so not true. It's really a way of living. And I find, you know, when we embrace that concept of it's a way of living, then when the old stuff comes up, you might say, I can't believe I'm there again. But then you realize also it's just a part of the journey, and you can, how shall I say that? It's easier to entangle yourself emotionally of it and to look at it and say, okay, as you said, what does it teach me?
Yeah.
Where am I already better at it? If only that I'm capable to look at it.
And that's exactly the point, Rima. Look at it, observe it.
Yes. And I always tell my clients when they get into, oh my God, what am I doing? And I'm so whatever that they find they are. And I always tell them it's all material for work. And me, for example, I look at everything with the fascination of, great, we have something to sink our teeth in. Mm-hmm. And when my clients or myself or people around me, when I see people embrace that kind of approach, they still have to deal with their fair share of things, of life, but the way they deal with it is so much more, well, dare I say it, elegant.
Yeah.
Because people experience things, but when they experience things and then they go on and on for it and getting into the heavy and the complaining and the blaming and all the stuff, it makes it double heavy. Whereas when you go in and say, okay, right, here we are again, let's have a look at it. That makes life a completely different experience. And that's where I tie back into the house, because when you have created, or when you are in the process of creating a house, that is already, that somehow belongs already to where you want to be. And in those moments when real life happens and you look around and you see things that are better than how you currently feel, that's really helpful. That really pulls you up.
Yes, that's true. And that's what we want.
Yes. I mean, take your curtains. I'm sure that now that they are up, they really have an uplifting effect on you.
Yeah, definitely. Rima, is there anything you want to add to our conversation? Something that you want to miss people to hear?
Yeah, okay. One thing I want people to hear. Please love your homes. Because however you think they are imperfect and not at all what you dream about, or not at all what you created in them, or whatever, but your home creates the seed for something you can really bring into existence. And why the home? That is something I would like to add, because in our homes they have two huge advantages. The first one is that it's probably the one place on earth where they have the most influence on what happens. So you have the most chance to create really what you want, and much more than in the workspace or in the world around us. And the second one is the home is where we usually, put our defenses down. So whatever is happening around us goes in much deeper than, let's say, when you're out there in the metro where you are much more guarded on, So it's really start by loving your home. That will be the perfect platform to transform it. And then step by step, when you do that, then you will automatically basically reap the benefits. That's what would be my last word.
Thank you, Rima. And that's so true. The home, the physical home and your inner home. I want to add, so both things are good.
They are, one doesn't make sense without the other.
Exactly. And that are really the only places that you have influence on. You're so right there.
Absolutely.
Rima, how can people reach you when they want to reach out for you? I will put it in as a link underneath or wherever I'm posting this.
You can simply go to rimanouri.com.
Okay.
You have several ways to contact me. You can subscribe to my newsletter, Le Petit Mot. You can put yourself on the wait list for the next time that Change Your Home, Change Your Life will open. Or you simply book a free bonjour session if you want to connect directly and if you want for us to talk. So simple.
Good. So thank you so much
Thank you, Klana, for having me. Absolute pleasure.
And to the listeners and watchers, thank you for tuning in and hope to see you next time again. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.